1955, there were just under 700,000 miners employed by the National Coal Board. In 1965, there were 455,000. In 1975, there were 246,000. In 1979, when the Tories came to office, there were 234,000. By 1983, there were 203,000. Today, there are just 182,000. Ian McGregor and the National Coal Board have just demanded that 20,000 further jobs must go in this financial year. A secret document prepared by the National Coal Board in 1982 showed that the board planned to close 95 pits with the loss of 70,000 to 100,000 jobs over an 8-year period. In July 1983, the board's own newspaper, Coal News, talked of a loss of 65,000 jobs within 5 years. The spark which fired the present strike came on the 1st of March 1984, when the NCB gave just 4 weeks' notice of closure of Cortonwood Colliery in Yorkshire. Ian McGregor has persistently refused to negotiate on this closure and on the general closure strategy. When, on the 14th of April, Arthur Scargill asked for a public debate on the future of the industry, McGregor replied, "There is no way I can get into a public debate with a man who talks so much nonsense." In 1982, the last year for which figures are available, the National Coal Board made a loss of £111 million. But in the same year, over 3 times that amount, £366 million was handed out by the National Coal Board in subsidies to the banks and finance houses in the form of interest payment. And that was on top of another £200 million that was paid out for the stocking of coal. The plan for coal was agreed by the unions, the Coal Board and the government in 1974 and confirmed in 1977. It aimed at a total annual output by 1985 of between 135 and 150 million tonnes. The National Coal Board now plans to have an output of 97 million tonnes by 1985. Since 1974, the government has spent £4,200 million in the industry, whereas the plan for coal by 1984 prices envisaged an investment of £6,500 million. The competitiveness of British coal is restricted because of the low level of government aid to the industry. Britain receives the lowest subsidy per tonne of coal of all the common market countries. Even disregarding other payments, in 1982, Belgium coal was subsidised by £17 per tonne. The figure for French coal was £18. For West Germany, £8.50. In the United Kingdom, it was down to £3.30. In 1980, the Tory government passed the Coal Industry Act. This planned to end all operating grants to the industry by 1982 to 1983. The NUM foiled this scheme, in part through industrial action in February 1981. But in March 1983, the government again announced that the NCB had to break even by 1987 to 1988. This is the argument of the so-called uneconomic pits. But often where pits are judged uneconomic is where the NCB has refused to invest. The 3 areas with the highest operating costs per head, Scotland, the North East and South Wales, are also the areas with the lowest investment in the last 7 years. So the problem of the uneconomic pits is too often a problem the government and the Coal Board have themselves created. If the government and the Coal Board get their way and 70,000 jobs are lost, the cost in benefit payments, lost production and reduced spending power would be £4.5 billion over 5 years. The NUM has consistently urged the Coal Board to promote the expansion of the coal industry into new markets. It has recently produced the booklet, New Ways of Using Coal. This lists 5 new technologies which are available immediately for the use of coal, and 2 further new technologies which will be available in the longer term. The NCB, prodded on by the Tory government, have refused to take advantage of these new markets. Although there are sufficient coal reserves in this country to last 1,000 years, the Tories prefer to promote nuclear energy despite its higher cost and massive risks.